The stars twinkled peacefully in the void of space as Captain James Miller stood on the bridge of his patrol ship, the Guardian. His weathered hands gripped the railing tightly as he watched the research vessel Hope's Light drift silently through the darkness. The ship's gentle blue running lights pulsed steadily, marking it as a civilian vessel going about its permitted business within Earth's restricted zone. 20 years had passed since the collective arrived on Earth, promising protection and guidance to humanity. 20 years of rules, restrictions, and endless lectures about how humans weren't ready for advanced technology. 20 years of watching alien ships patrol Earth's skies like parents watching over children who couldn't be trusted with anything sharp. James checked his watch, an old-fashioned mechanical timepiece that had belonged to his father. The Hope's Light was right on schedule for its weekly research mission, studying nothing more dangerous than deep space radiation patterns, the kind of harmless research the collective still allowed humans to conduct. The ship's AI spoke softly. "Captain, 3 collective vessels approaching from Sector 7. They're moving fast." James straightened up, his heart beating faster. The collective ships never came to this sector on Thursdays. Something was wrong. "Open a channel to the Hope's Light," he ordered. Before his communications officer could act, brilliant beams of energy lanced out from the approaching collective ships. The Hope's Light's shields, the basic ones the collective permitted, flickered weakly for a moment before failing. James watched in horror as the research vessel's hull began to break apart. "Get me those bastards on screen now," James roared, his fists clenching. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the cold, crystalline forms of collective enforcement vessels. A smooth, emotionless voice filled the bridge. "This vessel was found in violation of development restrictions. The appropriate response has been implemented. Please update your records accordingly." The Hope's Light's distress beacon activated, broadcasting its final moments. Through the static and chaos, Dr. Thomas Ward's voice came through clearly. "It works. God help us, it actually works. The quantum field is." The transmission cut off as the ship broke apart. James felt the familiar rage building inside him. The same rage he'd suppressed every time the collective had denied humanity access to new technologies, every time they'd lectured Earth's leaders about responsible development, every time they'd destroyed human achievements they deemed premature. But this time was different. This time, they'd murdered 300 innocent researchers without even a warning. And this time, James had proof. His hand slipped into his pocket, touching the small quantum data chip Dr. Ward had given him just yesterday. Insurance, the scientist had called it, with a knowing look in his eyes. The chip contained proof of what the Hope's Light had really discovered, a breakthrough in quantum communications that the collective had been trying to prevent for decades. James watched the collective ships disappear into the darkness, their job done, their message delivered. Humanity had stepped out of line, and they had been punished. Again. The bridge was silent except for the soft beeping of instruments. James looked at his crew, good men and women who had watched helplessly as their fellow humans were murdered. He saw the same cold anger in their eyes that he felt in his heart. "Send word to command," he said quietly. "But first, make sure our official logs show exactly what the collective expects to see. The same old story. Humans getting themselves into trouble, breaking rules they weren't ready to handle." His communications officer nodded, understanding the real message. The truth would travel through different channels. Secure channels that the Resistance had spent years building. Channels that would carry the news to every hidden lab, every secret facility, every underground meeting place where humans still dared to dream of freedom. The Guardian turned slowly, heading back to Earth. But this time, they weren't returning in shame or submission. This time, they carried with them the spark that would ignite humanity's fury. The collective had finally gone too far, and they didn't even realize it. As Earth grew larger in their view screen, James thought about all the other ships that had been destroyed, all the other discoveries that had been suppressed, all the other lives that had been lost to maintain the collective's control. He thought about Dr. Ward's last words. "It works." The quantum communications breakthrough would change everything. The collective's greatest advantage had always been their ability to coordinate faster than light, while humans were limited to conventional communications. But not anymore. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, where even the collective's most advanced sensors couldn't penetrate, Dr. Anna Thompson watched the recording of the Hope's Light's destruction for the 10th time. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but she couldn't stop watching her friends and colleagues die in that burst of alien energy. The underground facility hummed with activity around her. Teams of scientists moved with purpose through the carved ice tunnels, their footsteps echoing off the frozen walls. This was humanity's true laboratory, hidden from the watchful eyes above, where real progress happened in secret. "They killed them because they were getting close," said Mike, her assistant, placing a cup of hot coffee next to her computer, "just like they did to the Mars team last year." Anna nodded, finally pausing the recording. But this time, they were too late. She pulled out a small device from her pocket, identical to the one Dr. Ward had given Captain Miller. "Tom finished it. He sent me the complete data just hours before." She couldn't finish the sentence. The device contained the blueprints for humanity's first quantum communication system. But unlike the collective's version, this one worked on principles they couldn't detect or intercept. It used the unique properties of human consciousness, properties that the aliens either didn't have or couldn't understand. Above them, on the surface, the research station appeared to be nothing more than a small weather monitoring facility. The kind of primitive technology the collective expected to see. Every day, they dutifully sent out reports filled with basic atmospheric data and simple observations. The aliens never suspected that 20 levels below the ice, humanity was quietly preparing for freedom. Anna stood up and walked to the main laboratory. The enormous chamber had been carved out of solid ice years ago, its walls now lined with equipment that would make the collective panic if they knew it existed. In the center stood their greatest achievement, a quantum core that pulsed with soft blue light. "Status report," she called out to the team monitoring the core. "Quantum field is stable," replied John, the lead engineer. "We've successfully linked to the backup facilities in the Marianas Trench and the Sahara bunker. The network is growing stronger every day." This was humanity's secret weapon. While the collective thought they were keeping Earth's people safely contained, humans had been building a web of quantum-linked facilities around the planet. Each one appeared on the surface to be exactly what the aliens expected, primitive outposts doing basic research. The truth lay hidden underground. A young technician rushed into the lab, holding a tablet. "Dr. Thompson, we just received a transmission from Captain Miller's ship. The quantum chip. It worked perfectly. We have proof now. Proof of everything." Anna took the tablet, her hands shaking slightly. On the screen, she saw not just the recording of the Hope's Light's destruction, but also the collective ship's secure communications. Communications they thought humans couldn't possibly intercept. The quantum chip had caught it all. "They didn't even try to check if anyone was alive," she whispered, reading the alien transmissions. "They just logged it and moved on, like crushing an insect." The lab fell silent as the implications sank in. For years, they had suspected the collective's true nature. Now they had proof. The aliens weren't protecting humanity. They were containing a threat. Their scans had detected something in human brains that frightened them, something they couldn't control. Anna walked to the quantum core and placed her hand on its smooth surface. The blue light pulsed in sync with her heartbeat, a feature they still didn't fully understand, but one that proved humans could interact with quantum fields in ways the collective couldn't. "Send word through the network," she ordered. "It's time for Phase 2. Tell every facility to begin full production. And get me a secure line to Admiral Hayes. He needs to see this immediately." As her team rushed to comply, Anna looked at the frozen ceiling far above, knowing that somewhere up there, collective ships patrolled the skies, confident in their control over the primitive humans below. She smiled slightly, remembering something her father used to say. The most dangerous opponent is the one you don't think is a threat. The collective was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Admiral Robert Hayes stood in his office at the United Earth Defense Command, staring at the holographic display floating above his desk. The image showed Earth, beautiful and blue, surrounded by a complex web of red lines, collective transport routes that they claimed were for protection and trade. But now he knew the truth. The quantum data chip from Captain Miller had revealed more than just the cold-blooded destruction of the Hope's light. It had exposed the true purpose of those red lines. They weren't defense routes. They were mining paths. The collective had wrapped Earth in an invisible net of dimensional extractors, slowly draining away resources that human sensors couldn't even detect. "Play it again," he ordered his AI assistant. The hologram shifted, showing a collective ship's true energy signature, decoded by Dr. Thompson's team. Below the visible ship, tendrils of energy reached down into Earth's crust, drawing out something the aliens called dimensional resonance. They were harvesting Earth's very reality. His secure quantum communicator buzzed, a technology that officially didn't exist. "This is Hayes," he answered, knowing it would be another report of horror. "Sir," came the voice of his intelligence chief, "we found the missing colonies. All of them." The voice cracked slightly. "The collective didn't just restrict them. They erased them." Hayes sat heavily in his chair. Over the past 50 years, dozens of small human settlements had vanished from the outer solar system. The collective had always blamed solar flares, asteroid impacts, or human error. They had even used these accidents as evidence that humanity wasn't ready for space colonization. "How many?" he asked, though he dreaded the answer. 17 colonies, over 30,000 people." The intelligence chief paused. "Sir, they didn't just kill them. They harvested them. The human brain's unique quantum properties. They'd been using our people as components in their dimensional tech." Hayes looked at the image of Earth again, at those innocent-looking red lines. How many humans had been processed into those networks? How long had the collective been feeding on humanity while pretending to protect them? His quantum communicator lit up again. Another secure channel. Dr. Thompson's face appeared in a small hologram. "Admiral, we've finished decoding the rest of the data. You need to see this immediately." The files appeared on his screen, hundreds of them. Reports from collective ships, internal communications, resource assessments. The truth was worse than they had imagined. Earth wasn't just being harvested. It was being prepared for something bigger. "They're calling it the Great Conversion," Dr. Thompson explained, her voice tight with anger. "Once they've extracted enough dimensional resonance, they plan to convert our entire solar system into a power source for their network. They've done it to other civilizations before. That's why we've never found alien life in nearby systems. The collective got to them first." Hayes opened another file, and his blood ran cold. The collective had been systematically altering human history, erasing evidence of humanity's true potential. Ancient civilizations that had achieved incredible things, wiped from memory. Breakthrough moments of human consciousness evolution, covered up. They hadn't just been restricting humanity's future, they had been hiding humanity's past. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Based on their timetable, 6 months before they begin the final phase." Dr. Thompson's hologram flickered. "But sir, there's something else. Something they don't know about us." She sent another file. Brain scans of humans working with the quantum cores. The patterns were unlike anything the collective had seen before. "We're not just compatible with quantum fields," she explained. "We can change them, shape them. Every human brain is naturally able to do what their most advanced technology barely manages. That's why they fear us. That's why they have been suppressing us." Hayes stood up, his decision made. He pressed a button on his desk, activating the quantum network that connected all of humanity's hidden facilities. "This is Admiral Hayes to all resistance cells. Begin Operation Wake Up. I repeat, begin Operation Wake Up. The time for hiding is over." Across the planet, hidden quantum cores hummed to life. In deep bunkers and secret labs, humans who had been preparing for this moment began their work. The collective's carefully maintained illusion was about to shatter, and humanity would finally show their true strength. The hour of deception was ending. The time of reckoning had begun. The old missile silo had been empty for decades, or so the collective thought. 200 meters below the abandoned surface buildings, John Parker checked his tablet one more time. The quantum core readings were perfect. Around him, rows of new weapons stretched into the darkness, each one built with technology that supposedly didn't exist. All systems are green, he reported through the quantum network. Silo Complex 17 is ready. His words traveled instantly to similar facilities around the world, encoded in ways the collective couldn't detect. On the other side of the planet, Lisa watched her teams loading the last of the quantum-enhanced fighters into underground hangars. The ships looked primitive on the outside, exactly what the collective expected to see. But inside, they held humanity's greatest technological achievements. Remember, she told her pilots, keep running the old jet engines when we're above ground. The quantum drives stay cold until we get the signal. The men and women nodded. They had trained for months in simulator pods, preparing for the moment when humanity would reveal its true capabilities. Deep under the Antarctic ice, Dr. Thompson worked with her team to finish the most important part of humanity's plan. The quantum communication network was nearly complete. Soon, it would connect every human mind on Earth into a vast, living web of consciousness. The collective thinks they understand quantum fields, she explained to Admiral Hayes through a secure channel. But they only see them as tools, as technology. They never realize that human consciousness naturally exists in a quantum state. We don't need machines to manipulate quantum fields. We just needed to wake up to our own abilities. She placed her hand on the central quantum core, and it pulsed in sync with her heartbeat. Around the world, other cores responded, creating a web of light that was invisible to collective sensors, but burned bright in the quantum realm. In orbit, Captain Miller's ship continued its routine patrol, playing the role of an obedient Earth defense vessel. But hidden beneath its primitive hull plating, quantum-enhanced systems waited silently. The collective ships that passed him had no idea that their secure communications were being intercepted and decoded in real time. Another harvest ship just passed through the Luna corridor, he reported through the quantum net. They're stepping up their extraction schedule. Time is running out. Admiral Hayes stood in the underground command center, watching as reports flowed in from around the world. Everything was almost ready. Humanity's hidden strength was about to be revealed, but timing would be crucial. Status report, he ordered. The responses came instantly through the quantum network. Pacific Defense Grid online. Atlantic weapons platforms in position. Underground bases fully stocked. Quantum shields charged and ready. Orbital assets in place. Ground forces standing by. Years of preparation, all hidden beneath a carefully maintained facade of primitive technology. The collective's own arrogance had been their weakness. They were so convinced of human inferiority that they never looked deeper than the surface. Sir, Izade reported, the collective's main inspection fleet is on schedule. They'll enter Earth orbit in 6 days. Hayes nodded. The aliens still thought this was a routine visit to check on their protected species. They would arrive with their usual show of overwhelming force, expecting to find the same primitive civilization they had been exploiting for decades. Send the final authorization codes, he ordered. All units begin countdown procedures. Remember, everything has to look normal until the exact moment we strike. Dr. Thompson's voice came through the quantum net. Admiral, the consciousness link is ready. When the time comes, every human on Earth will be connected. Our minds will act as one. Hayes looked at the holographic display, showing Earth's defense grid. On the surface, it appeared weak and primitive, exactly what the collective expected to see. But hidden beneath that false image, humanity's true strength waited. How long until the quantum shields reach full power? he asked. 4 days, Thompson replied. Just enough time to complete the global linkage before the collective arrives. Hayes smiled grimly. The aliens thought they were coming to check on their obedient servants. Instead, they would face humanity's full awakened power. The storm was gathering, hidden in plain sight, and the collective would never see it coming until it was too late. The collective's inspection fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their crystalline ships gleaming in the sunlight. 50 vessels, each one powerful enough to level a city, arranged in a display of overwhelming force that had kept humanity compliant for decades. On the bridge of the lead ship, High Inspector Oryx watched Earth grow larger on the main screen. The primitive sensors of the human defense fleet were exactly as weak as they should be. Everything was exactly as it had been during every inspection for the past 50 years. Status report, Oryx commanded. All human activities within expected parameters, his subordinate replied. Their energy readings show no advancement beyond permitted levels. Defense capabilities unchanged. No signs of restricted technology. Oryx nodded in satisfaction. This primitive species had been perfectly contained, their development carefully controlled. Soon, they would begin the Great Conversion, and Earth's dimensional energy would feed the collective's ever-growing needs. The inspection fleet moved into standard formation around the planet. As always, the human defense ships kept their distance, showing proper deference to their betters. On the bridge of his ship, Captain Miller watched the collective fleet settle into position. His hands were steady on the controls, but his heart raced. Through the quantum network, he could feel the minds of every human on Earth, and in space, all connected, all waiting for the signal. In the Antarctic base, Dr. Thompson stood before the quantum core, her consciousness linked to the vast web of human minds. All cores are synchronized, she reported. Quantum field is stable and undetected. Admiral Hayes looked at his watch, an old-fashioned mechanical device that had belonged to his grandfather. The same watch that had timed humanity's preparations for this moment. Status check, he ordered through the quantum net. The responses came instantly, carried by human thoughts rather than technology. Orbital platforms ready. Ground batteries charge. Quantum shields at full power. Consciousness link stable. All units in position. High Inspector Oryx raised his hand, preparing to begin the formal inspection. His sensors showed the usual primitive attempts at hidden technology, pathetic efforts that the humans thought were clever. He almost felt pity for their limited understanding. Begin the inspection, he commanded. Standard protocol for primitive species evaluation. At that exact moment, Admiral Hayes spoke a single word into the quantum network. Now. The change was instant and total. Every human mind on Earth and in space joined together, their consciousness merging into a single vast intelligence. Through their natural quantum abilities, they reached out and touched the fabric of reality itself. The collective fleet's sensors screamed in alarm as their carefully maintained illusion shattered. Hidden quantum cores activated simultaneously across the planet and in space. The primitive human ships transformed, their false hull plates falling away to reveal advanced weapons beyond anything the collective had imagined possible. Oryx staggered as his sensors showed the truth. The weak energy readings had been false, fed to his systems by quantum field manipulations that his technology couldn't detect. The primitive defense grid was a lie. In its place stood an interlocked network of quantum-enhanced weapons platforms that had been hiding in plain sight for years. Impossible, he shouted. They're barely past their industrial age. They can't. His words cut off as the first quantum strikes hit his fleet. The weapons weren't just advanced. They were operating on principles the collective had never imagined. Human consciousness, linked together through the quantum network, was reaching out and unraveling the very forces that held his ships together. Captain Miller watched as the mighty collective fleet found itself facing an enemy they had never truly understood. Humanity's weapons weren't just technological. They were extensions of human consciousness itself, guided by the combined will of billions of minds working as one. All ships, "Execute attack pattern Alpha," he ordered, his words carried instantly through the quantum network. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination, each captain's mind linked to all the others, their strategies unfolding with impossible speed and precision. The collective's formation broke as their ships tried to respond to an attack they had never prepared for. Their sensors, designed to detect technology, were blind to the quantum consciousness that was tearing through their defenses. The news spread across the galaxy faster than the collective could contain it. Through quantum channels they couldn't detect or block, the truth about Earth's victory reached other suppressed civilizations. The message was simple: freedom was possible. The collective could be beaten. 3 days after Earth's revelation, the first response came from the Proxima system. The supposedly primitive aliens there suddenly revealed their own hidden strength. Their quantum communications, based on Earth's breakthrough, cut through the collective's control networks like they didn't exist. Dr. Thompson worked tirelessly in the Antarctic base, helping other species adapt human quantum technology to their own forms of consciousness. Every species has its own quantum signature, she explained to Admiral Hayes. The collective tried to suppress them all, but they could never fully succeed. They just couldn't understand what they were dealing with. Through the quantum network, humans shared their knowledge freely. The techniques of hiding advancement beneath a facade of primitive technology, the methods of shielding quantum development from detection, the ways to link minds and multiply strength, everything was given to those who had suffered under the collective's protection. On a desert world 12 light-years from Earth, a species that looked like giant insects revealed vast underground cities that the collective had never detected. Their own quantum technology, hidden for centuries, finally emerged into the light. Their leader sent a message to Earth: "You have shown us the way. We stand with humanity." Captain Miller's ship, now openly displaying its quantum-enhanced capabilities, led a fleet to help the rebellion spreading through the Orion Arm. The collective's control was breaking down sector by sector as more civilizations revealed their true power. "They're not just copying our technology," Miller reported back to Earth. "Each species has found their own way to manipulate quantum fields." The collective never realized that consciousness itself is the key. They thought everything had to be controlled by machines. In the collective's core systems, panic spread among the leadership. Their carefully maintained order was collapsing. Reports flooded in from every sector. The Centauri worlds have broken containment. Quantum signatures detected in the Carina sector. The slave worlds of Antares are in full rebellion. Earth vessels are sharing quantum communication technology. Admiral Hayes stood in the New Earth Defense Command Center, no longer hidden underground. The holographic display showed the spread of rebellion across the galaxy. Every hour, new signals appeared as another suppressed civilization broke free. "The collective tried to keep us all separated," he said to his staff. "They knew that if we ever learned about each other's true potential, their power would be broken. They didn't just fear humanity. They feared all conscious life." Lisa's engineering teams worked around the clock, helping other species adapt quantum technology to their needs. Some civilizations were so different from humanity that new approaches had to be developed. But the fundamental principle remained the same: conscious minds working in harmony with quantum fields. The collective launched desperate attacks against the rebelling worlds, but their technology-based approach was no match for the combined power of awakened consciousness. Their ships found themselves facing weapons guided by the unified will of entire species, their control systems disrupted by quantum fields they couldn't comprehend. A message arrived from a water world in the Pleiades cluster. For 10,000 years, they kept us in our oceans, telling us we weren't ready for the stars. Today, we launched our first quantum ships. Thank you, Earth. Thank you for showing us the truth. Dr. Thompson received quantum communications from dozens of species, each one sharing their own discoveries and innovations. "This is what the collective feared most," she told her team. "Not just that we would break free, but that we would all work together. Every species brings something new to our understanding. The revolution couldn't be stopped. The collective's lies were exposed, their control systems were failing, and their power was crumbling. They had spent millennia keeping species divided and suppressed, never understanding that consciousness itself was the force they truly feared. In the space around Earth, ships from newly freed worlds gathered. Each one was different, each civilization unique, but all were linked by the quantum communications network that humanity had shared. The age of suppression was ending. The galaxy was awakening to its true potential. 1 year after Earth's revelation, the Great Hall of Justice on the neutral world of Centauri Prime was filled with representatives from 100 freed civilizations. The collective's leadership stood in the center, their crystalline forms dulled by defeat, facing judgment for crimes that spanned millennia. Admiral Hayes sat beside Dr. Thompson in the human section, watching as evidence was presented through the quantum network. Every species could share their memories directly, showing the truth of their suppression and suffering. The collective leaders had no defense against the weight of billions of shared experiences. For 50,000 years, the Chief Justice announced, her words translated instantly through quantum channels, the collective has committed crimes against conscious life itself. They sought to suppress the natural development of quantum consciousness throughout the galaxy. Today we pass judgment. In orbit above Earth, Captain Miller stood on his ship's observation deck, watching vessels from dozens of species working together to dismantle the last of the collective's dimensional harvesting network. The quantum tech that had once been used to drain worlds was being transformed into a power source for all. It's beautiful, isn't it? Lissa asked, joining him at the window. Her engineering teams had been working with alien species, combining their different approaches to quantum manipulation. Every species brings something new to the understanding. The Proxians can see quantum patterns we never noticed. The Antarians can shape fields in ways we thought impossible. Miller nodded. The collective tried so hard to keep us apart because they knew this would happen. When consciousness is free to develop naturally, it always finds new ways to grow. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, the original quantum core still pulsed with energy, but now it was just one node in a vast network that spanned the galaxy. Dr. Thompson's team worked alongside scientists from a dozen worlds, exploring the true potential of conscious quantum manipulation. The collective's greatest mistake, Thompson explained to a group of young researchers from various species, was thinking that quantum fields could only be controlled by technology. They never understood that consciousness itself is quantum in nature. Every species experiences it differently, and every difference teaches us something new. In the ruins of a collective control center, now transformed into a museum, Admiral Hayes led a group of visitors through the exhibits. They kept detailed records of every species they suppressed, he told them. They documented every breakthrough they prevented, every civilization they held back. They were so proud of their control that they never thought these records would become evidence against them. The visitors, ranging from crystalline beings to creatures of pure energy, moved through the exhibits with a shared sense of purpose. The quantum network allowed them to share their reactions and understanding without need for words. On Earth, the old Defense Command Center had been transformed into the Galactic Cooperation Hub. Representatives from all species worked together, sharing their unique insights and abilities. The quantum consciousness network had evolved far beyond its military origins, becoming a tool for sharing knowledge and understanding across the galaxy. We found something interesting in the collective's oldest records, a young researcher told Dr. Thompson during a quantum conference. They had legends of their own quantum consciousness, lost ages ago when they chose to rely entirely on technology. They became so afraid of losing control that they forgot how to truly connect with the universe. The judgment at Centauri Prime concluded with a sentence that surprised many. Instead of punishment, the collective leaders were ordered to work with quantum consciousness specialists from various species, including humans. They would learn to reconnect with their own lost abilities, to remember what they had forgotten in their quest for control. As the sun set over Earth's first public quantum communication center, Admiral Hayes sat in his office, looking at his grandfather's old watch. The mechanical timepiece had counted the seconds to humanity's revolution, and now it marked time in a very different galaxy. A quantum message arrived from a newly discovered civilization at the galaxy's edge. They had hidden their development for centuries, but now they were ready to join the growing community of free species. Hayes smiled as he authorized first contact protocols. The message would be simple. Welcome to a free galaxy. Your consciousness is your own. The age of suppression was over. The age of shared discovery had begun. And no civilization would ever forget the moment when humanity had shown them all that freedom was possible.